Good afternoon. I'll call to order the meeting of the New Ulm Public Utilities Commission. The first item on our agenda is to review the minutes from July 23rd, 2019.
I'll offer the motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held July 23rd, 2019.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of approving the minutes indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is our monthly utility operations report.
Okay, President Heine, I just have a couple comments on the report. Under the electric distribution, just to let you know, the utility had 221 Gopher State 1 calls. The Gopher State 1 calls, they're for locating utility lines. We had 221 in July, and basically that is a preventive measure to basically keep people from hitting our lines, contractors or property owners. So that's a good program. Under the electric production, we've done a significant amount of overhaul and maintenance that's being done on the number 1 boiler, basically getting ready for the steam heating season. And another notation would be under the gas department. We've done some leak detect surveys and then some inspection and annual maintenance, which has been done with some of the cities that we contract our services with. So we've got that done for the year. The only other item I have is the Employee of the Month. Employee of the Month for July is Dave Keene. Dave Keene is the power plant supervisor and the chief engineer in the electric production department. He has been employed with the public utilities since May of 1979. Dave brings over 40 years of experience in the power plant. The power plant requires a significant amount of time dealing with state and federal agencies and staying in compliance with permit levels set by those agencies. Dave has stepped into his role of supervisor, accepting all the challenges that come from running a steam and an electric plant. He has demonstrated his ability to stay focused when an issue with equipment in the plant is not running properly, and to troubleshoot and make decisions that get the equipment back online. He can look at situations and offer good economical alternatives to keep everything running as optimally as possible. This time of the year is very busy in the plant, with units being brought offline for maintenance. Coordination and organization are required to make sure each step is performed properly and timely. Working up the ranks in the plant has given Dave a wealth of knowledge that is invaluable to the utility. The utility is very fortunate to have such a dedicated and experienced employee in Dave Keene.
Thank you. And the commission recognizes Dave. Does anybody have any questions of Chris about the report?
I'll offer the motion to receive and order filed the report regarding monthly utility operations.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of approving the monthly utility operations report and recognizing Dave Keene as Employee of the Month indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we need to talk about a natural gas supply agreement with Minnesota Municipal Gas.
Okay, Commissioners, this has been brought to you, I believe, in the June 2019 meeting. A natural gas prepay opportunity was offered to New Ulm Public Utilities, and the opportunity involves selling municipal bonds, basically to take advantage of the tax-exempt bonding and the private bonding. This particular opportunity involves purchasing gas through a gas supply agreement, which is with the Minnesota Municipal Gas Association, MMGA. The agreement is for a 30-year term, which would allow for repricing points every 5 to 7 years. The minimum discount for the first repricing point is 33 cents, and the minimum discount for subsequent repricing points is 23 cents. The utility will have the opportunity to stay in the agreement if the lower discount if a lower discount is offered, or we can leave the deal completely. So there is an opportunity to get out if we're not receiving the discount that we think that we should. The utility will have no liability for the debt. The debt is issued by MMGA, and the only responsibility to the utility is to purchase the natural gas that's allocated into the transaction. New Ulm will contract with MMGA, and MMGA will contract with RBC Capital, with BP being the gas supplier. So staff is requesting that the commission give authority to the city manager to sign the gas supply agreement with MMGA once the final version is complete, and at which times the bonds will be sold at the time that the minimum discount can be achieved. It is anticipated that the majority of the issues are requests for clarification, so there should be only some minor changes prior to the final agreement being issued.
And we held a work session on this topic this afternoon, and the commission had an opportunity to ask lots of questions and review the materials. And it's my understanding that both you as the director and the city attorney highly recommend this arrangement,
Yes.
Correct.
and perhaps the city manager also?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to sign the natural gas supply agreement with Minnesota Municipal Gas Association, MMGA, to supply New Ulm with natural gas through a prepay natural gas transaction.
Second.
Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor of authorizing the city manager to sign the natural gas supply agreement with,
Resolution,
We have to do something with the resolution.
roll call.
It doesn't say that here, but yeah.
okay. So you offered a motion, do we need to amend the motion to,
All for a resolution.
Be a
of
mo-
the-
do you want to withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
So what am I,
I think the motion needs to be to offer the resolution.
okay, so I'll offer a motion to offer a resolution to authorize the city manager, correct? To sign the natural gas supply agreement with Minnesota Municipal Gas Association, MMGA, to supply New Ulm with natural gas through a prepaid natural gas transaction.
Second.
Okay, now will you call the roll?
So Commissioner Finland,
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaunis.
Yes.
Commissioner Swan,
Yes,
President Heine.
Yes. And the resolution passes. Carries? Okay. Okay, agenda. The next item on the agenda is to consider moving into phase 2 on our MISO transmission owner evaluation. Dan is here.
Good afternoon. Yeah, this is, if you remember, in June, we brought you phase 1. And we said that if it looked successful, we'd be bringing back phase 2. We'll have attached to this the letter of findings or memo of findings for phase 1 and their proposal for phase 2. Just a reminder, phase 1 was an extremely high level look at it, very quick to identify any potential problems. Now in this phase, they're going to start drilling a little deeper to find any fatal flaws or shortcomings in their arguments before we take it to the full MISO review process, which would be part of phase 3. As a part of this phase, they'll also be getting an attorney, which is kind of your second item here, to render a legal opinion on the argument that we'll be bringing to the MISO board, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I guess that's pretty standard operating as we walk through this process to be recognized as a transmission owner. Again, if there's any pitfalls, we'll just stop at this point when this is done. But if it looks good, yet again, they're projecting to be done with this in October or November. So we might yet be again here a third time before the end of the year discussing phase 3. And if anybody's got any questions, I realize I haven't went in detail, but it's pretty technical and pretty high level. But I'll try to field any questions anyone's got.
so assuming you get to phase 3, what does it actually do for us to be a MISO transmission owner? What's the benefit to us?
Basically, we pay transmission fees to the grid right now to get the power to the New Ulm hub.
Yep.
Well, we will get a percentage of them to maintain our system. And it was a couple years ago that they were 12% average of what your recognized transmission assets were. I think they've taken it to Minnesota PUC trying to move that down to 10%. But either way, it's a pretty substantial check that we'll be getting annually if we can be recognized by this.
Does it impact us if we do transmission line replacement? Like we were talking
That
about the river
would-
crossing or
If we get
something
this
else?
done now, and then we do that project, they would actually help pay for that project. But the real benefit isn't just the money on this, we'd also get a seat at the table for these planning functions. So we could put that in the greater Minnesota plan. And if somebody else is trying to do another project, like say we're gonna tie onto their line so they can rebuild their line, they may be an active interest in help pushing our project forward in the queue. So there's not just the financial benefits, it's also the voice at the table on how things may change transmission-wise around New Ulm here for us, which is, in my opinion, almost more valuable than the money. Any other questions or comments I'll try to answer?
Okay, I'll offer the motion to authorize the city manager to accept the proposal of 18,000 for the mid-level assessment, phase 2 of the viability of New Ulm becoming a MISO transmission owner from Power Systems Engineering Incorporated, and as well as authorize the city manager to accept the proposal of $8,000 for legal services from Richard Heineman of Boardman and Clark LLP.
Second.
Any discussion of the motion? All in favor of the motion to authorize the accepting the proposal for 18,000 for mid-level assessment phase 2 and the $8,000 proposal for legal services with Richard Heineman, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Guessing Dan will stay with us for the next item, engineering service for South Wellfield Power Supply, erosion control.
Okay, this one's a little different yet again. With the river just finally going down so we could survey some of the damage, we found that we're having some significant erosion issues along the power distribution line that brings the power to the South Wellfield. And again, this is kind of a time-sensitive project, so you'll notice we're asking for permission to do engineering services, accept and sign the proposal for engineering services and geotechnical services, and allow the contracting to repair the erosion control for the South Wellfield boost supply. The reason we're doing this, last year the Watt River basically came up in October, and we saw it again in early August, late July, this chunk of line, and we had significant damage, and 40% of the water for the city of New Ulm basically comes through these lines if we lose these wells. So we will, if we could bring the proposal back with an acceptance of bids would be brought back for your approval, but it might be an emergency meeting or a special meeting to keep this project going. The goal is to repair this before freeze up right now.
So any idea what the cost will be?
No, but I was on a site visit with one of the potential engineering services people today, and the river in this area is pretty deep, and he was discussing some pretty big numbers for riprap if we use riprap, so we may be looking for alternative options.
So basically, you know, you'll have an opportunity to see this prior to the work being done. It's just that it could end up being 3 months if we have to go through all of the specific approvals. So we're asking to kind of speed it up a little bit. There's quite a few, if you can see in the middle paragraph, there's quite a few jurisdictional bodies that we have to deal with, and the hope is with the consultant that, you know, they can kind of streamline that for us as well.
And when you look at the pictures that we have attached, it really doesn't do it justice until you really walk out there and see the damage and how close to the river those guy wires and stuff really are.
So you are saying that we would approve the contract before we go ahead with it, after you get the
Yes.
bids?
Yes.
I mean, I'm just, if it's a lot of money, we probably should be looking at it before we.
Oh,
respond. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
trying to,
But obviously,
And,
the photos do demonstrate a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if the line went down, basically it would be a significant
Right.
problem.
And I think we've always been available on short notice. If
Yeah.
you need to pull a special meeting, we can get together and make sure that it gets done
I just
quickly.
hate to give Dan a blank check.
He's pretty frugal.
don't I look trustworthy?
I will authorize the city manager to direct staff to obtain a proposal for engineering services, to accept and sign the proposal for engineering and geotechnical services, and to allow contracting to repair the erosion control issue for the South Wellfield power supply.
I'll second.
So that motion sounds like we are authorizing to go ahead with the work
Yes.
without reviewing the bids.
That's not the intent.
So is that the intent of your motion?
I guess in my mind, I see a level of expenditures, that maybe are not over 100,000.
If you want to cap it at that, would, no problem.
And just
Yeah.
bring it back as an informational item after? Are you
If it's
thinking?
under 100,000, I think I would be good with that. And just tell us, like, you got it done and this is how much it actually costs.
In 2012, they actually did a project similar to this for the transmission line, so the other end of town. And that bid came in at 55,600. But that
Yeah,
was
but that bid-
2012.
Yeah, and that bid, I do remember that actually, and that was, the river was uncommonly low. And it was kind of, hey, we could do it right now and do it quickly. And even though the river's in the bank, so to speak, it's,
Okay, I don't have all the details from that, but I just looked at the bid before I came.
We will get 2 quotes because it's over 25,000.
yeah.
So,
So I'll amend that to include a $100,000 cap.
Okay, so we have an amended motion to authorize the city manager to direct staff to obtain a proposal for engineering services, to accept and sign the proposal for engineering and geotechnical services, and to allow the contracting to repair the erosion control issue for the South Wellfield power supply, provided that the cost is under $100,000.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, do we have a second?
I can second that.
Any more discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And then I suppose that kind of brings up the question of what do we want to do if it's over 100,000? Request a special meeting?
we can set up a special meeting.
All right. The next item is the gas building interconnect evaluation. Is that Dan too?
Yep. On Casey Road, we have our Hutch interconnect for the gas service, where we have a little building where the odorant is put in there, our metering point and several other things. We're having some groundwater, and I don't want to call it erosion issues, but the building is moving. So we have part of the building that's actually, looks like it's being pushed up. Part of it looks like it's being twisted out away, and it's mostly a groundwater issue, but this is a proposal from SEH to do a little bit of geotechnical work. It's gonna do the water drainage plan, and then they're gonna come back and do a structural repair plan. So this will be all the engineering for it, but it'll be probably 3 very small contracts. We're figuring the drainage plan will probably be under 25,000. I'm not real sure what the structural will be, but it'll be probably at least under 100. I would think it's probably more like under 40 for that, but I have no quotes on that right now. But this is just to repair it, and as part of this, we're going to take some shots on some critical equipment out there to make sure none of the critical equipment is moving, just the building is moving. So,
Right, so that was my question, are the gas lines physically attached to the building that we would be in danger of a rupture?
no, they go through the building wall at one point, and we've actually modified where they come through there to make the hole bigger, so it's not a problem.
Modified it.
But technical term. But it's the critical infrastructure isn't tied directly to the building. They're on big sonotubes and independent foundation within the building, and basically the building was just put over to cap it, to protect it, and so they have monitoring and point for their SCADA and some of that other stuff.
Well, we just want to be sure that if the building's moving, that that's not moving also
Yeah, you know, it's
underneath.
just-
We don't know what's happening underneath, so.
It looks to me like we've got water leaching out of the hillside right down there, and it's coming out right at our gas shed. So then, with how saturated it's been the last couple winters, the building really started moving with deep frost, and now she's coming right out of the ground. Like on our last site visit out there, it hadn't rained a few days, and it was still soaking wet, and the grass would squish when you walked on it. So there's water coming right out of the hill.
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to accept and sign a professional services agreement with Short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated to evaluate the gas building protecting the pipeline interconnect on the KC Road near New Ulm for the estimated amount of $16,575.
I'll second.
Any discussion of the motion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Looks,
Two more.
Dan,
You're spending a lot of money today,
not
Dan.
going anywhere.
For a guy that doesn't have a budget.
So the next item is a report, let's see, Bass Billing. Engineering services for low-pressure steam service upgrades to Emerson Union Apartments.
Yes, this is the engineering services to rebuild the steam service going into the old middle school, now I guess called the Emerson Union Apartments. This is just a preventative maintenance project, basically. The line in there is currently functioning fine, except for it's exceptionally deep, and it is, we can't find exactly how old it is. It's at least 80 years old, if not older, so it's well beyond its design life. And I guess we'd rather replace this service on our terms rather than during a failure sometime in the winter. And they did the project in 2012, I believe, right in front of there with the State Street. But nobody knew what was gonna happen to the school, if it was just gonna be demolished or what. So they elected not to replace the service at that time. So that's the long and the short of it.
I'll authorize the city manager to accept and sign the proposal for engineering services for the replacement of the low-pressure service to the Emerson Union site from INS Group Incorporated in the amount of $18,400 for both survey and design services.
Second.
Any discussion of the motion? All in favor of authorizing the the proposal for engineering services for replacement of the low-pressure service to Emerson Union with INS Group indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. High-pressure steam main upgrades.
This is another steam service, but this is high-pressure steam service going down to the Firmenich site. This has been a project ongoing for quite some time. Their goal is to be in service and starting testing of their equipment 1st of August next year. So we're trying to get this all done yet this year, but what we're hearing with pipe lead times is it may not happen this year yet, just because of logistic-wise. But that's why we've written it to direct staff to develop plans, specifications, set the bid date, and solicit bids or quotes for the high-pressure main to the Firmenich site. Again, before we accept anything, it would be coming here for your folks' approval. But this is meant to expedite the process as much as we can. If we have to, we can put it in, but it'll be the first project going in the ground next summer when weather and time allows. And again, this is a project that we'll be contracting the installation and stuff because our crews cannot work on high pressure steam mains.
Did I read that the price is a little bit favorable because we're looking at the same contract for this project and the Emerson
Yeah.
Union project?
We were quoting them both, so
So they're able to.
we're
give us
actually
something.
getting a little bit of break on the Emerson Union by doing it the way we're doing it for the design service.
And it's basically as a result of their expansion. We have a 4-inch line going in there right now, which isn't adequate for them. They need a 6-inch. So that's what prompted the project.
I'll offer the motion to authorize the city manager to direct staff to develop plans and specifications, set the bid date, and solicit bids or quotes for the high-pressure steam main upgrades to the Firmenich site.
Second.
Any discussion of the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is to consider a request for customer steam system audit. Derek.
Good afternoon. So throughout the winter months, many individuals walking or driving through the downtown area see business doors open. These doors stay open all day during the winter months due to interior steam systems functioning improperly, resulting in overheated buildings. Not only does this result in higher bills for these customers, it is an unnecessary waste of energy and resources. Within the last year, discussions on how to resolve or help with this issue have occurred. It is decided that the first step is to be taken is to conduct a steam system audit for customers. This audit will help distinguish what steps need to be taken to resolve this issue. The audit will help determine the number of steam traps in buildings along with the sizes, manufacturers, functionality, and the health of the steam system. The customers will get a report on their system with a list of issues and the potential savings with the upgrades made. So the audits the vendor will go in with their audit, and what we'd like them to capture is mostly with traps and thermostatic valves from manufacturer sizes, the status of the traps, if they're functioning or not, and obviously an inventory of both of them and a full assessment. So it is asked that the commission approve a request for a proposal to gather the necessary information to prepare a budget revolving around a corrective action plan.
So we're not authorizing any money, we're just authorizing you to go out and get proposals.
Yeah, you're authorizing
Correct.
an RFP. Basically, this is the beginning of you could call it a STEAM revitalization program. It's the first step of potentially many. We're looking at possibly, the first step is to figure out what we have. We don't really know. The system within the building is the customers, it's not the utilities. But we think that there's some possibility through some rebates or things like that, that we might be able to help our customers get some of the things changed so that they actually have a system that they can use and it functions properly. What we're seeing now is a misunderstanding of the system, and so people are starting to drop off, and they're switching their heating fuel, and we want to kind of curb that. Steam can be a very efficient and very good heating source. You just need to have your traps and maybe have a thermostatic valve in the building to help with that. And so the problem is, I think that the customers don't know where to go or how to fix their steam system. We're not necessarily saying that we will go in and do that for them, but we want to give them as much information as we can to help them. So the audit would be to, this company will come in, do an audit, and potentially tell them areas that there's issues, and then if they were to fix these issues, what potentially could be their savings in terms of utility bill savings. We have, a lot of landlord to renter. So I think, the renter is the one paying the utility bill, but the landlord owns the building. If we can show some savings and maybe even help with some rebates, we might be able to get some of the buildings refurbished. So this is the first step. There'll be other steps coming before you, if you agree to this type of a program or plan.
The Energy Awareness Commission, I'm assuming, is in full support.
They have not been notified yet. We're every other month.
Okay.
So this was brought up in between a month of having the meeting and then not having an Energy Awareness Commission meeting.
Okay. Is that where the rebates would likely come from? So it would be rebates from us to the customers as
Yeah,
part of that program?
potentially from
Right.
Derek's CIP funding.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
This issue has been discussed at Energy. and I'm glad you
There's,
mentioned
yeah,
it.
I mean, then, yeah, this isn't necessarily something new. This has always been kind of talked about. It's just gotten to a point of, okay, rather than talking about it, we need to have some sort of action, and that action is to find out what's out there
Mhm.
to get some sort of resolution.
Sometimes customers don't know how they should be, what valves they
Right.
should be turning and what valves they
Yep,
shouldn't
and
be
as some
turning.
of you know, some of the funds in the SIP, Conservation Improvement Program, with the steam rebates is usually untouched from year to year, even though it's, could be advertised more, but it's, they know about it, so.
Would the steam department do these audits, or we're gonna hire someone?
This is a request for proposal for someone else to go out and do the energy audit.
A different company?
A different company, an outside firm, yes. So this is just a request for them to tell us what it would cost to gather this information. So from that point, we can come back and say, we received these proposals, this is what it will cost. Can we go forward doing that?
And this is all in relation to our small, either residential or business. We're not
At this
talking-
point, it would
we're
be-
not talking
Commercial.
about Firmenich and
No.
AMPI.
Not at
It's
this
our-
point,
It's
no.
all, it's our low pressure.
Low
right, okay,
pressure,
okay.
yes, low pressure.
Okay. Then I'll offer the motion to authorize the city manager to direct staff to develop a request for proposal for a customer steam system audit that looks at items such as steam traps and valves, or steam valves and traps, thermostatic valves, meter sets, and other miscellaneous system components.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Next is pilot testing of ammonia removal system for the water plant.
Good evening. When I was in school, I was told that ammonia didn't happen in drinking water. But over the last 10 years, it's become obvious across the upper Midwest that ammonia is an issue in drinking water. The biggest issue for a water plant in itself is that 1 part per million of ammonia can consume up to 9 parts per million of chlorine that we're adding to disinfect the water. So it makes it very hard for us to meet our goals for our free and total chlorine. SEH has done a study at Lafayette, Lafayette, Minnesota, just up the road here. They have very similar water to what we have, and they have the pilot plant equipment sitting there, the reason their quote is lower than the other company is that SEH has done this more often, and we think that the other engineering firm was thinking of they're going to use the entire operation as a pilot, but we will be building a model in our plant where we will take water off the stream that everybody else is getting, but we'll treat it with this new process. It's a biological process, and it uses something like wiffle balls to increase the surface area for organisms to grow in that, and that will remove naturally remove ammonia, because ammonia will be a food source for them, and that will reduce our demand for chlorine, which would save us some money. Also, they've found with their system that they could also reduce their use of permanganate chemicals to oxidize iron and manganese. And so if this worked out for us and we were to scale this up to the full plant, there's a potential that we could save as much as $90,000 a year. So I would ask you to authorize the city manager to accept engineering proposal from SEH in the amount of $11,400.
And to point out, we did budget for this, correct?
Yep, sounds we did.
All right, I'll authorize the city manager to accept the engineering proposal from Short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated for pilot testing of an ammonia removal system for the water plant in the amount of $11,400.
I'll second.
Any discussion of the motion? On the motion to authorize the city manager to accept the engineering proposal from SEH for the pilot testing of an ammonia removal system, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And you have the next one too?
I have the
Trevor?
next one too.
Okay.
So this is another water quality issue that will help our disinfection. It's a kind of new technology. It's been around for a while, but not universally used. What this is involved is basically we're going to put mixers in our reservoirs and maybe even our water towers, but this will be the first one we'll do in the 4.5 million gallon reservoir by the golf course. And the purpose of this is the design of our water reservoirs is a one pipe design. The water goes in and out that same pipe. And when you have a 4 million gallon reservoir of water that is 40 feet in diameter and 45 feet tall, you're only using the water right in the center. And you're getting old water out here that starts losing its disinfectant. And in some cases, not here, but where there's more organics, you actually start getting what they call denitrification, and you totally lose your disinfectant. And so we had this budgeted to do the mixer, but the KLM, who is the engineering company and also the vendor of this particular brand of mixer, will do the whole project, including cleaning the tank out. Once every 10 years, we're supposed to take these tanks out and pump out any residue that's in the bottom. And we don't generally get very much, but it might be 5 or 6 inches of residue on the bottom of the tank. They will have to take a Vactor truck and go on top of the tank and bring a hose down in and suck that out and get it totally clean. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for us to put a mixer in there and you've got residue on the bottom and make a bigger problem than we're trying to solve. So this will be a one-time deal. They'll clean it. Probably when we get a mixer in there, we won't have any residues settling anymore. So we have budgeted $45,000. That's what I anticipated that the cost of just the mixer would be. But their proposal is for $39,400 to do the cleaning and installation and purchase of the mixer.
So it must be a big mixer to mix 4.5 million gallons.
It's a specific design. There's 2 or 3 designs, and they say that it will, the first time you start it up, it'll take like 3 days to get it fully mixed. And then after that, it will be cycling. There are different designs. Some of them take a week, and it depends on the size of the reservoir and everything. But it is something we've been considering for several years.
Have you considered repiping the tank so that you're not in and out of the same pipe?
That would be a lot more expensive than doing this. What I would propose is any new tanks, for sure, I would make sure that they didn't use the one pipe tank design.
Is the mixer internal to the?
It's a stainless steel mixer, and it will set on the floor of the reservoir. There'll be a stainless steel chain on it, and then a cable taking power to it.
Okay.
It's about this big.
So all the stuff that was in that tank in the future will go to your house.
If we didn't clean it first, we're going to clean it first. We're going to get the residue out.
So
You can go on vacation for a couple weeks there?
Well, I guess well, my point is if you if you, I mean, basically you're just suspending the solids that make it to the tank. Those solids all end up out in the distribution field of the,
Which are,
Water
the
supply.
solids are coming out of the distribution pipes now. So there's not very much in there. The last time we looked at the 3 million gallon reservoir was in 2015, and it was only about 3 inches of residue. And it's recommended, and we'll be going back, recommended to inspect them every 10 years anyway. So
But
we'll
on the
put a
flip-
robot down in there and see what it looks like.
But on the flip side, you're saying we'll be getting all the water flowing through rather than just
Yep,
yeah,
Yep.
the middle.
turns it over, yeah.
completely changes how the water flows in the tank.
How many days does it, after it gets going, you said it takes, how many days to cycle it through, just all the time?
Once it's
Oh,
doing
once
it,
it's, right, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be
question.
continuous. So once it's, 3 days or so, it'll be the first mix, and after that, it'll be continuous.
So when that motor burns out, how much is it gonna cost to repair it?
I don't know.
We'll want that in the budget.
It'll be less than 39.
Yeah, hopefully less than 39,000.
Well, I think it would be less than that, but, and there's a 5-year warranty.
Okay.
Do we need to do this on the other tank?
We'll see what it does. If it does what I anticipate it doing, yes, we will. And we'll probably end up putting it in we have a clear well at the water plant where water doesn't get mixed as much as it could either. And we'll look at putting them in there.
Okay. I'll authorize the city manager to accept the proposal from KLM Engineering Incorporated to perform a dry tank cleanout and to install a mixer on the 4.5 million gallon reservoir in the amount of $39,405.
Second.
Any discussion of the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank
Motion-
you.
Motion carries. Next is to consider surplus equipment with the electric distribution department.
Commissioners, this is a Solar air compressor. We're just asking that you declare it surplus and we can dispose of it. Basically, it will be scrapped. It was involved with an accident. It has since been sent into insurance, and the insurance has declared it totaled, so it will be scrapped.
I'll offer the motion to declare a Solar air compressor as surplus property and authorize disposition pursuant to the requirements of the city code and charter.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to declare the solar air compressor as surplus and authorized disposition indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the valuation of IT equipment as possible surplus property.
Okay, this is just miscellaneous computers, monitors, things like that that are no longer useful. They're out of date. They will be disposed of through the PCs for People. Basically, what they do is they're certified for data destruction, and so they're no longer needed, I guess.
Computers get old.
They do.
We'll move to declare the IT equipment as surplus property and authorize disposition pursuant to the requirements of the city code and charter.
I'll second.
Any discussion of that motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Then we have our report of claims for this month.
Move to consider acceptance of the claims to be paid in the amount of $2,717,558.58, and the list of claims to be paid in the amount of $295,236.79.
I'll second.
Any discussion of the motion? All in favor of approving the list of claims paid and list of claims to be paid indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have we need a motion to consider going into closed session.
Madam President, I think it should be clear that this is being done, if it's moved to do so, pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception to the open meeting law. That's the purpose of closing it. So.
Okay,
I'll make the motion to go into a closed session to discuss arbitration related to gas volumes transported on the Fairfax gas pipeline.
I'll second.
any discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, so we will now proceed into, the New Ulm Public Utilities Commission will convene a closed session in accordance with Minnesota statutes 13D.05 subdivision 3B to discuss arbitration related to gas volumes transported on the Fairfax gas line. And with that, we need to clear the room.
Certain things I had to like.
Oh, really?
Dave's your expert on Minnesota PERA. You could have gone to him for advice. Yep. We're back in open session. We just had a closed session regarding litigation pursuant to the attorney-client privilege. We went into closed session, and now we are prepared to adjourn. Unless anybody has any other comments?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned.